Hi, welcome to the first webinar in this series for transitioning back to campus. Our names are Eve and Con, and we're with the New Jersey GSAPP Hope and Healing Program.
Yes, this webinar is designed to be mostly introductory, and we would love if you had a chance to check out our more specific topical webinars to be released soon, which will include considerations for if you are choosing online or in-person classes, values and long-term coping skills, practical considerations for returning back, and short-term coping skills and managing anxiety before going back.
Within this webinar, we will begin with offering guidance on how to find COVID-19 guidelines, both with the CDC and with your college. We're also going to introduce some practical things to consider during this transition, short-term coping skills, and some suggestions for approaching campus clubs and activities this fall.
We are also going to offer resources that you can utilize to potentially ease some financial concerns, as well as food and housing insecurities you may be experiencing.
So before we get into these topics, we want to mention that it is possible this transition will have some positive aspects and some challenging ones as well. If you're feeling overwhelmed, it might even feel like the negative aspects outweigh the good. Remember that it is okay and normal to feel overwhelmed. Everyone's world has been turned around, and this can be distressing. It is expected that you might feel cautious or worried about trying something new, and we are collectively trying new things as we navigate this stage of the pandemic.
Yeah, so to begin, we're going to go over some aspects you all may want to keep in mind during this transition.
Yes. So, depending on your college, some institutions will require students to be fully vaccinated before returning to campus and in-person classes. In just a moment, we'll ask you all to pause this webinar to research your school's COVID-19 requirements for the fall term. This can be done by simply Googling your college's name and the words COVID-19 vaccination requirements. If you are not vaccinated and are interested in getting vaccinated, you can also take a moment now to see if your institution offers on-site vaccinations. This can be done by Googling your college's name and the word on-site vaccines.
Perfect. Feel free to pause now and check things out.
Okay, so I hope that search was helpful. You can also see information on New Jersey reopening and on vaccines through the New Jersey COVID-19 Information Hub, which is linked in the description.
We would also like to encourage you to check out the other link in the description, which gives information from the CDC on national COVID-19 restrictions. There's also a very helpful resource from the CDC linked in the bio, which breaks down how safe activities are categorized right now based on vaccination status.
Yep, and our final recommendation is to reach out to your primary care physician to inquire about reasonable precautions to take for you and your family, considering your specific situation. So you're welcome to pause the webinar now to check out those links, to use a browser to search for the CDC's current recommendations, or make a note to call your physician.
Now we want to touch on some practical considerations for this transition. We are going to create a more comprehensive webinar on this topic. However, these are some things you could begin to think about now. Eve, would you mind introducing this?
Sure. So one practical thing you can begin to think about now is scheduling, both scheduling your classes and planning out your day while accounting for the potentially new commute. After being online for so long, it can be certainly new and stressful to commute to campus. Thinking about it now can help you feel more prepared.
Those are great suggestions. And again, we're going to create a more comprehensive list of practical things to think about as you transition to school this fall in a separate webinar. However, we hope you found this note on this subject to be helpful and motivating.
Okay, so we understand that this transition back to campus can be accompanied by many emotions, perhaps some negative and some positive. Even if there are things you're excited about, perhaps there are also an overwhelming number of details to organize or worries about interacting with others more regularly. Whatever emotions are present for you, just know that these are all normal and expected reactions to change. We have been undergoing so much change in the past year and a half, and even if things look more normal now, it is still a change, and there may still be change to come in the near future.
Yeah, and this is why we thought it'd be useful to introduce some coping skills you can use to help manage any stress that you have. Coping skills can be used to support ourselves in moments that feel overwhelming, scary, unpleasant, or uncomfortable. Sometimes people use them if they are nervous, anxious, stressed, or scared. You can think about them like an imaginary toolbox of skills that you always carry with you in case you need a boost. Coping skills involve short term and long term skills, and we will briefly go over some short term coping skills and discuss them more in depth along with long term coping skills in later webinars.
That's a great point. It can be useful to think about skills that you can do anywhere. Some things you might be able to do in certain situations and circumstances, for example, making a cup of hot chocolate or going for a walk outdoors. However, you can't necessarily do this if you're feeling overwhelmed in class. In this presentation, we're going to focus on a few skills which you can do anywhere that can help you reduce your stress or worry.
Okay, so let's start by discussing some breathing exercises. Breathing exercises help us literally slow down our bodies, especially when we feel the physical impact of stress or worry. By focusing on your breath, you can slow down your nervous system and relax. Eve, can you share about a few breathing exercises?
Of course. So, the first breathing exercise is to simply draw out the length of time which you take to inhale and exhale. You can try breathing in for 4 seconds and then exhaling for 4 seconds. Khan, can you help me demonstrate this? Okay, so breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4. Some people even choose to count to 6. So thank you, Khan, for helping me out. And then another exercise which you have is called diaphragmatic breathing, otherwise known as belly breathing. This can help you fill your lungs to their fullest. You can place a hand on your belly and push your hand out with each deep inhale, noticing the breath travel down to your belly instead of to your chest. When we are distressed, we tend to breathe from our chest, so slowing down and breathing from your belly can help you feel more relaxed. Remember to breathe with your nose. So how did that feel, Khan?
I like them. I think if I were to practice it a few more times, I would definitely feel more centered and calm.
Yes, so thank you for trying them out with me, Khan. Another coping skill I like to use is through sensory experiences. This can include anything that involves one of your 5 senses, such as touching that's something that brings you comfort, like a soft blanket. We're going to go into further detail about this method, as well as other short-term coping strategies, such as using coping thoughts and ways to stay more in the present moment in a future webinar, as well as some long-term coping skills to manage the stress of continuing college throughout COVID-19 in another later webinar. So please be sure to check those out.
We also want to take a moment and talk about one of the huge positives that come along with college, which are on campus activities and organizations.
I absolutely loved being a part of an athletic team during undergrad. Khan, did you do any activities or organizations?
Yeah, I was in a fraternity and some organizations related to my major. They definitely made up a huge part of my college experience.
Very true. So we encourage you all to take a moment and think about what types of organizations you would be interested in joining in the fall. Feel free to search for and reach out to these organizations. They're likely happy to have you.
Yeah, and in terms of considering COVID-19, feel free to look up or ask if they have any online or hybrid options. You'll be amazed with what's out there.
In that spirit, be sure to keep the CDC's and your college's COVID-19 guidelines in mind. It will be important to have a good experience and have fun in college, and it's also important to keep yourself and others safe.
Well said. Now let's talk about tuition and financial aid. We have included a list of financial resources and information related to COVID-19, including grants, loan availability, and payment suspension. And you can see this in the YouTube video description.
So we've also included guides on finding affordable housing and food assistance, including healthy food recipes in the description as well.
And here are references, so feel free to check any of these out for more information.
And here is the email which you can use to contact us, our website, our YouTube, and our Instagram. We'll actually be posting reminders of these webinar uploads through our Instagram, so it could be a great way for you to keep in touch.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, we have included information about COVID-19 in the description as well as a link to our services where you can request an individual check-in. We also have a lot of webinars on other topics, which you can find on our channel, so feel free to check those out.
The Center for Psychological Services, CPS, of the Rutgers Graduate School of Applied and Professional Psychology, GSAPP, in collaboration with the New Jersey Department of Human Services Division of Mental Health and Addiction Services, Disaster and Terrorism Branch, offers this crisis counseling program through a federal emergency management FEMA/SAMHSA grant. This program is brought to you through New Jersey Hope and Healing Crisis Counseling Program.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you guys.